What's up? Alright. So I went to the Ivory Coast, and the really cool thing about going to Africa was it was actually free, but this t-shirt cost $3,000. So, special t-shirt. So, what I'm going to start with is Africa is not the United States, as you'll see. That is how you haul stuff, and that is your livestock, and that's your lumber. So, yeah, there are potholes in the road because of idiots like that. Yeah, if you look closely, can you see what that is?
Bras?
That is an African Victoria's Secret. We did not show this picture on Sunday, but this is youth group, so anything goes. Alright. And that is the Walk Mart, where people try to sell you stuff on the freeway between all the cars. So you have to be careful. And that is the window washer. Funny thing about him, he would ask for a tip after he cleaned your windows. So he wouldn't get money as often as he wanted. Alright? And that is how they carry water. Now girls, you should all learn this skill. That'd be sweet. Here's
You can do it.
just look at that.
Hey, if we can do it, you can do it. Why don't you learn with us?
Because that's their tradition.
So you break tradition. Nope. Right.
She's so happy about it too.
Why is she smiling? Like, she must have dreams.
Just about every girl would be carrying something on their head, and some of them didn't use their hands.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. At one point, Pastor Jason back there was hauling up water from the well.
Yeah, so there's a well, that's how they get their water. And that it wasn't clean, and that's my popsicle I wanted, but I didn't eat. But the thing about the water, like it was, what, 75 feet deep or something, so they had to pull a bucket up. And we weren't even allowed to brush our teeth with water because it's contaminated. And I would like to ask, who knows what these are? Anyone? All right, okay. Who wants them?
Good pick out.
All right, so in America we know them as Sour Patch Kids, but in Africa, those are very bad kids. And they are not the same thing, trust me. They're disgusting. There's like a grape flavor, I didn't know that was a thing. So, alright. So the reason we went there, or one of the reasons, was to make church building. So that is the building, the Church of God in Yamoussoukro, which is the official capital. That's not the one we built. And there's another church that was finished in Tonopla, and that's the inside.
Is that Nate?
That's Nate, and just look at how subtly he is right there.
Indiana traffic.
He's all serious. Speaking of Nate, he admitted to me that he's still single, so he didn't know I would say that.
Plug. I like it.
All right. So that was before that's the footings for the building we were going to make. That was before we arrived. And those are the footings with the concrete blocks. And all the concrete blocks were handmade one by one by 2 or 3 guys.
How much money did they make a day?
I want to say it was like 5 or something. 4?
$5,000?
$4 a day.
$4 a day. They had a pile of cement, they had to put it into a mold, beat it down, then they had to put the form down, and then they had to do it again. And one thing I thought was funny about the block makers was that we were building a Christian church, and they were Muslim. So the Muslim people were literally helping us build a Christian church, and I think that's against their religion somewhere.
That's cool.
You know, the next slide. That is Larry. He lives in Africa. He's one of the missionaries, and he was working too, diligently cleaning that block. That's the end of day 1. and that's the end of day 2. So we got green bean going. That's day 3.
Look at the clouds.
Day 4. Day 5. 6. Correct? Yeah, 6. Is there another more pictures? That's the inside. That was not all clean like that at the beginning. We laid the blocks from the inside, and there'd be people outside that put the cement down, but people inside would haul the blocks up, and there's this higher inside. That was fun. And that is the last bucket of concrete that was poured for our trip. So that was a fun moment.
And it was all by hand, right? They didn't have any machinery.
Yes, and this is a walk around of the building. Pastor's house that you just saw, and the kitchen. Alright, so that was a walk around of what we made, and then the most epic picture in my journey, that guy in the middle is me, but he looks like Darth Vader because my hat had one of the neck protector things. That's the best.
Awesome.
I know. It's the best picture that there is. All right, and then we had to go for Sunday morning worship. That is the church. We would meet in the pastor's house. Next. So now my dad was preaching because he's a pastor, so he would speak in English, and then Larry, who was the guy on the left, would translate in French. And the reason he's holding that block, because his sermon was, we weren't building them a church, because the people are the church. You are the church. So that was a big lesson. Keegan, good job clapping. That is the pastor. Thanks for Steve. So that's their worship. So what was it? Mike and John, Macy and Eric and Brendan. You should take notes. You should just do that. Just easy draw. Thumbs up. All right. So now I'm going to go into relationships. So we had a bunch of lumber, and if we just left it sitting around, it would get stolen. So we put it in the pastor's neighbor's house because it was locked. So we had to haul all of that, which was fun. So whenever me and Nate would go, this is our fan club, and we have high fives and handshakes. And that was my fan club, not Nate's, because I'm better than him. They were watching me split bricks, because that's my most useful trade in building. Those are just 2 children. That is Fabrice. Can anyone guess how old he is? That's 14. 14? You? Yep.
18.
All right. Okay, yep. Right. You all your answers? Yeah, he's 18, and he's like, what is it, this tall, maybe?
Hey, what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't like short people, but other than that, Keegan.
Keegan, did you find a kindred spirit?
So the reason he is short is because probably malnutrition. But so he was only this tall, but he would have 2 concrete blocks, 1 per hand, and he'd race and he'd actually get jump onto the building with the 2 bricks in hand. So he was strong. We thought he was like 12, so we all thought we were getting showed up by some 12-year-old.
No.
And he worked the entire 2 weeks instead of making money for his family. He worked at the church where he didn't even get paid. And yeah, those are his bare feet because he didn't have shoes. Other days he'd have flip-flops, women's flip-flops because they're cheaper. And that's Fabrice on the left, and on the right is Timothée. Now Timothée is a youth, and he's also 31. Because if you're single or under the age of 40, you're a youth. And Timothée, he also, I think he worked 1 day in the field, and other than that, he showed up every time instead of making money. And that's Timothée learning to drill and a very scared American pastor. That was after Sunday, so we have IYC here in the States. They have something similar to that, and that was all the youth meeting for who would be going. And for them, it's $60 per person. So, Mike, you're the state coordinator, you should work on that. And at IYC, who all went to IYC? Show of hands. Well, a lot of you. Who remembers the spread the word offering?
Oh, yeah.
Those you're supposed to give $20 into it?
Yeah, I do.
Well, a few years ago, that money went to those motorcycles because a brand new car in the Ivory Coast is like $80,000 because 100% tax. So they don't get new cars, they ride bikes. So they got bikes so they can travel around, and the potholes make bikes easier. Levi.
Now it doesn't look like Darth Vader, now it looks like Jar Jar Binks.
That's not even, you know what, just leave this building.
Yeah, think about that for a second, guys. If you go buy a brand new car, if it's like $40,000, that's tax included for the most part. For them, it's 100% tax, so they're paying $40,000 and then another $40,000 just on taxes.
So it's double?
And they still have potholes.
Alright, so actually before this, I'm going to say, so I told you about Timothée and Fabrice. Since they helped all 2 weeks, we paid for them to go to their IYC because they couldn't without us. So I think, was it last week, they had their version of IYC that we all as Bertha group helped them go to. And then that is Larry and Leanne. We stayed at their house, which was an hour and 15 minutes away from Sintra, where we built the church. And in the red shirt is Bobby, and the blue shirt is Jenny. I think they've been missionaries for 3 years, 4 years. And go back first. I wasn't ready for that. Okay, so this is actually their first work camp, and the little boy is Sammy, and he doesn't have very many white friends, let's just say that speak English. He was crazy. And the little girl is Reese, and yeah, some of you like children, so that was to make you jealous. So,
That guy's single too.
Yeah.
oh yeah?
Yeah, ladies, he's single.
Wink, wink. Alright, so next is that who here knows what Children of Promise is? Some of you? So it's what you sponsor a child and then you pay for them because they can't afford medical care. So I'll do that later.
Yeah, say it.
Yeah, Children of Promise. So both my family and Dave's family sponsor children from the Ivory Coast. So the girl right there is Nate and Dave's, and she has that huge smile, and it's literally because of that little hairband. Now, how many of you, if you got a hairband, would be overjoyed like that? Okay. Or, even better, that little thing of stickers, not even this big, little smiley face stickers. She got that, overjoyed her, and she's 9 years old. If you give a 9-year-old a thing of stickers as a gift, she doesn't like you anymore.
Hey, I like to
Unless you're Stormy. So, and then that was our child, Chunjue. He's 6 years old, and he's probably never seen 6 white guys in his life before, so he was shy. We were bombarding him with questions. Is there another picture? I don't know. That, so yeah, shaking his hand. Shaking hands in Africa is more important than it would be here. Greeting time is important. So that's why I shook his hand right there. Alright, so Children of Promise, one thing, Jenny and Jenny and Bobby, they are actually the Ivory Coast Children of Promise people. So they knew everything. That's why we were able to meet them. They live an hour away on a terrible dirt road. And one thing that we were told is, those kids, they love letters. Just imagine you're all impoverished, some guy from another country sends you stuff, and everyone else in the room gets a letter, and you don't. You wouldn't feel so good. So the reason I say that is because we have a Child of Promise person, Daniel, and we give him money, but that's all we have really done. So we're going to do better this year, Steve and me. I'm actually sort of in charge of that. So I would actually like to take a group picture at the end of this that we can send in a picture, and we'll write a letter. But it's huge sending them stuff. Children of Promise. And yeah, we can do better. So my big takeaway was Children of Promise because, like I said earlier, the little girl, 9 years old, overjoyed by stickers. And here we get mad if we don't get the fanciest iPhone. It's just not good. That's my spiel.